Thank you, Stephen. Hi, Gare.
Hi, everybody.
This
This
just
is
went like 3, 2, 1.
Hi. This is Haiti and Felice, and I'm Haiti, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
And I'm Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. And Angelique, how are you today?
Great.
So
We're all great.
we are awesome. So we are so glad that you could be here with us. You know that you had other things that you could be
At
doing
9 o'clock at night.
at 9 o'clock at night after a full
Wednesday.
day of work. Okay, and you really chose to put your health first, and go you. That's awesome. So we are a community of men and women and dogs who are
And kids and stuff.
emotional eaters, compulsive overeaters, and food addicts. We have unhealthy relationships with food.
We do.
We use and abuse food. It's my drug of choice. I would rather go to the food at the moment than go to anything else. And that resulted in us being sick and tired, living in pain with shame and guilt. And we've really chosen to live happy and healthy lives because we knew there had to be something else out there, and that's what Why Wait for Recovery is.
That's right. That's why Why Wait for That's what Why Wait for Recovery is. And so Why Wait for Recovery, we learn how to each day wake up in the morning and do our best to do our best, and learn how to feel better so that we don't have to use that drug of choice.
I always thought that dieting was the answer to feeling good. So if I could look a certain way or wear certain things and have a certain image, I'd be happy and healthy, and it really wasn't true. So I'm fat on the inside. I've lost over 120 pounds in the last year and a bit, and that isn't the healthy part of me. The healthy part is the change that I've been going through here. The physical part was the easy part. This has been the challenge. So it's really dealing with my stinking thinking, those things that put me in the situation continually of doing the same thing over and over and over again, expecting different results.
Which we call addiction, addictive behavior.
So I'm the addict.
Yeah, well, I'm one too. So
I thought-
you're not that special because
I thought I was
one too.
special. Okay. Oh, I should have brought the crown. So one of the things is really learning how to shift the thinking so we can do things a little bit differently. So even when I have those crazy days, and for some reason, I don't know if it's a full moon, but all the crazies are out, and I see what's happening in my work around me, and it's really difficult sometimes. I show up and try to do my best. That's really what I try to do in my own world. But things beyond my control start happening. You know,
Well, excuse me, things beyond our control are always happening.
right. So my go-to before that was the refrigerator, and it was the chips, and it was the chocolate, and it was the overeating and the bashing myself up.
And part of the go-to also when we're addicts is first to try to change what's happening outside of us. And so when you talk about your clients are crazy, or my patients show up however they show up, when we talk about that, and then we try to fix that and make that perfect so that we could feel better. And so that lack of control, which everybody has, the only thing we have control over are our own perspective and our own actions. That lack of control and that frustration with that lack of control, that behavior and the feelings that we have about that, because when we can't control what's going on outside of us, we feel not strong enough, not big enough, less than, like we can't handle that situation, and that's what leads to the end point, which is our drug of choice.
So I'm the perfectionist overachiever. I like things running smoothly. I'm anal retentive. I like things showing up on time, being on time, in little boxes, easy to deal with. So when I start dealing, especially choosing the career that I did, which is totally unpredictable, because I'm dealing with property managers, I'm dealing with clients, I'm dealing with all these other factors that aren't puppets on a string that just show up when I try to control them. So I hit those days where it seems I attract more chaos. And there was a time when I was attracting chaos to use, because the more chaos I had, the more I could say, look how terrible things are, shame, poor me, let me pick up, and it justifies me calming myself or using or abusing something. So I would feel better. But I'm at the point now that I don't want to go down that rabbit hole. I don't want to beat myself up because someone else is doing. Whereas before I would take it on as something I can control and something that I'm responsible for.
Mhm.
And I'm starting to learn to step back and say there's only so much, I don't know how that someone's going to sign a lease in time or that they're going to turn it around and do things that they should be doing because they've got their own stuff happening. But I still have to exist in this world and in this professional realm and show up as my normal, without taking on that chaos, that chaotic state. So even though we say acceptance,
Mhm.
I'm having a challenge of finding acceptance and dealing with acceptance at the moment.
Right, so acceptance is saying that I'm gonna show up, I'm gonna do my best, or at least do my best to do my best, and the rest of the world is gonna show up the way that it is. So the whole thing about acceptance is more that, if we take it a little bit farther than that, so you need me to sign a contract, and you need that contract in at 5 o'clock or somebody's gonna lose their deposit. I'm making stuff up because I don't know anything about it, but, and you need that done at 5 o'clock. And you're upset and you're worried and you're calling me, you're calling whoever, whatever. It's like, no matter what, at 5 o'clock today, it's gonna be 5 o'clock today. Whether you freaked out about perhaps I'm gonna sign the contract or not sign the contract, whether you were calm about it, you had a great day, you did the best that you could, and you knew at 5 o'clock today it was gonna be 5 o'clock, it was gonna be signed or not, or whether all of that chaos happened and you like, but if this happens, all of that stuff, whether you were like that, at 5 o'clock today, it's gonna be 5 o'clock today.
So I've always been the people pleaser. So I've always been that codependent that I'm happy if you're happy because I care
Well,
about you.
and let's go into that a little bit.
Right.
So why do we people please?
Because I want you to like me.
Right, right. And why do you need me to like you?
Because it makes me feel important. It makes me seen and it makes me heard and it makes me feel loved.
So you need for me to like you actually because my opinion of you is what's important to you. But the thing is, you're never going to be able to change my opinion of you.
Right. And the antithesis of this
Yes.
is my business is so dependent on referrals.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm in this business that honestly relies so much on other people telling me how fantastic
So
I
does
was.
mine, yeah.
Right, that they come back to me. So when
Mhm.
people aren't having I always try to create that stress-free environment for them by taking it on.
Excuse me, I'm going to create something stress-free. So I don't know if that sentence works. I'm going to create something stress-free. Instead of just showing up, doing my best, and knowing that what's going to happen after I do my best is going to happen. I don't know how much we could create stress-free.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
you're going to try to manipulate what's happening outside of you so that you could get a result that you want. And so what happens when we try to do that?
Chaos shows up.
Chaos and disappointment and
Frustration.
self-loathing and yeah, all that great stuff.
And all the best junk food, it just starts
Right, exactly.
popping
And
up
that's
and
right. That's at the end,
drive-thrus
as the end
and
result.
yeah, and then they came
Or a
up
bottle
with
of tequila and 15 Percocet.
and they came up with Halo Top or some kind of ice cream that's only what that's
Oh my God, I
20
tasted that.
calories.
It's so disgusting.
Real.
It's disgusting. It's disgusting. I bought it. It was like $80 for the little thing. But it was good because it was like the whole thing was 160 calories.
I don't know, I
It
haven't
was
even touched
disgusting.
it.
Okay.
So, okay, but I thought about it. So what I think it's going to taste like might be very different. But anyway, all the stuff shows up. So amongst all these other things, my other go-to thing was really going to those places because then I can numb how I'm feeling and I could just really eat them and not have to deal with. So while I'm talking to my client, but I put down the phone is when I start eating.
Okay.
So
And so you eat to feel better.
I do. I eat to feel like I'm doing something.
And then after you eat to feel better, how do you feel?
Worse.
Right, of course.
Right. So
So you feel more degraded, you feel guilty, you feel ashamed of yourself, you promised yourself you didn't do that, and now you've got all that other chaos happening in your head because you did something that you thought was going to be okay that actually wound up hurting yourself. And so then we're on that vicious cycle.
So getting the tools to deal with acceptance. That's something that we cover in the workbook. Is that
Yes,
something?
it is, big time. And so whenever we do any kind of recovery work, you know that acceptance is the answer to all of my challenges today. And the truth of the matter is that acceptance is the answer to all of my challenges today. So as soon as I try to change something, I don't know what happened there. As soon as I, yeah, so I think, I don't know what to do. I think you have to just touch Facebook or something, or, anyway, as long as I'm trying to change something I have no control over, I'm not gonna be okay. And that's just the way that it is. The simplest thing with recovery is learning that if I just show up and do my best to do my best, then I've done what it is that I meant to do. So it's just showing up and doing my best to do my best. Everything else is out of my control. So I can come here, and we talk about this, I could come here and you and I can have this conversation. And at the end of the conversation, you could turn around to Angela and say, she's whacked. Like, oh my God, like she's crazy. And she thinks she knows everything. And she talks and talks and talks. And I can't stand her and I don't want her to come here anymore. Or you could turn around to Angela and have no opinion. Or you could turn around to Angela and say, oh my God, Felicia, God gave her to us, so wonderful. Whatever. I show up the way that I show up. You take it the way that you take it. That's the way that the world works. So the only thing I'm in control over is showing up and doing my best. That's it. Doing my best all the way around. Speaking my best, acting my best, doing my best for myself, doing service for others, kindness, brotherly love, courage, integrity, truth-telling, all of that stuff. Showing up and doing our best.
So after 44 years, I love it when you laugh at me. It just makes me feel so important.
Not that she's codependent. Let's not get back there.
So after 44 years of doing things the same way,
Mm-hmm.
it's a little bit of a challenge starting to switch things out. I mean, in terms
Yeah, of course. And so that's we're also used to doing what we're used to doing, right? Our habits are our habits, and so so we have to do some work. We have to go through those steps that we need to go through so that we can unlearn our old habits and learn how to live a life in recovery.
So we're going to retrain our brain, essentially. So we're retraining it. How long does a process normally take?
Well, it takes 1 minute to 800,000 years. Because it's going to happen differently for everybody.
Right. So from what I understood, it takes about 90 days to be able to learn new behaviors or a new habit or...
Correct. And that's what they say. So yes, I agree with that. And I think that if you do anything again and again and again and again and again, over 90 days, it does become more habitual. The thing about recovery is that it's a slow process, and it is a process. It doesn't really have an end part. So in recovery, we're working on ourselves every day, day after day, and each day hoping that we're going to be able to do our best. Moving forward a little bit, right? Sometimes moving backward a lot, and then getting up and moving forward a little bit again.
So it's not really so much retraining my brain to be totally different, but it's more having a program that I can rely on. So when I get that stinking thinking or those thoughts that I've used and that keep playing out time and time again, I've got a reference point in which I can go to be able to use and work a program that kind of centers me, anchors me, and helps refocus.
Right, and that you have a community that you could go to also. Because when I wake up in the morning and I'm feeling nuts, I have to think about what's happening in my brain and chat with somebody else about it so that I can get some feedback. Because remember, when we rely on ourselves, by ourselves, we use.
Right.
That's just the way that it is. Relying on ourselves kept us in addiction. We did it and it never worked out for us. Thinking that we had it and that we could get better by ourselves and change our behaviors by ourselves and not reach out for help, that's what keeps us in active addiction.
So that's interesting because all I really wanted to do yesterday was get into bed and stay in bed. I didn't want to get out. So really,
Yeah, you
I
had a
wanted
tough
to
day
be
yesterday.
right, and I really just wanted to be alone, and I couldn't be because you're right.
Well,
Which
actually,
is
you
a
could
good
have been, but you chose
right, but
not
I chose
to.
not to.
Right.
So I really chose to show up, and it really shifted my whole day. But the thing is, before I wouldn't have done that. Before I would have shut off, switched off, disappeared,
Right.
and been on my own. So that community really is essential in terms of getting me out of my funk.
Right, and that's such an important step. And something that was said between us yesterday, which I thought about a lot yesterday because we say it kidding around. But yesterday you were having a moment and you
Right.
and I were talking and I said to you, you mean to tell me that losing 120 pounds hasn't made you happy on the inside?
Right.
And that's a really big deal.
You mean when
because
I was
you've
crying
lost-
and
yes,
really
when you were
upset?
crying and
Right.
upset yesterday. Because really that's the picture. You lost 120 pounds. Physically, you look amazing. Spiritually, it doesn't change how we are, man. It's just the size of us. It's not the heart of us.
Right. So it took care. So what I did took care of the outside, but it
Right.
didn't take care of
On
the
the
thinking
inside, right.
and the inside. So
Right.
really, that is what I'm getting out of this program. So for Why Wait for Recovery, what it's giving me is the tools and the techniques and the community in which to become healthy.
Yeah, to recover, to be happy, to
And to be
learn how to
happy.
be happy.
I forgot how to be happy.
Yeah.
I was so busy controlling and being in control and trying to control and being perfect that I forgot to, as you say, watch the movie.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
was caught up in that tailspin. So a few things that we are doing. So our goal for Why Wait for Recovery is what? Why did we start Why Wait for Recovery?
Well, first of all, we started Why Wait for Recovery so that we have a community, because we know with community, even if you go back to the first psychologists that talked about community, everybody does better when everybody's doing something for the betterment of the community. That's the nature of the beast. That's the nature of human beings. So to have that community so that we always have somebody to rely on, that's a big thing. And so that we could grow together and learn together, learn from each other, and teach each other how to be happy, how not to do the stuff that we used to do, how to stop beating ourselves up, how to look at ourselves, do what's best, and look at the best part of ourselves, and understand that the better we get, the more we can be of service to others.
And the interesting part for me as an addict is that when I'm in active addiction, it's all about me. And being in community makes it about others. And when I'm able to step out of myself, my world becomes so much bigger.
You know, I just have to laugh because I remember when I first went into treatment, and they used to say that that addicts are selfish. And I was like, I wasn't selfish. Like, I would drink, and I would take out the checkbook, man. Like, I bought my kid a pool table. All of his friends, the kids' friends were always over. We went out on the boat. We did all this. I spent all kinds of money, and it's not about that. You know, this selfishness or self-centeredness is about how I will do anything that I need to go to do and go to any lengths so that I can get to my drug of choice. So that no matter what's happening, in the end, I can do what it is that I need to do. And in the end, when we're using, with the people around us that we think that we're being generous to, really what we're telling them is that they're never going to be as important as our drug of choice is. And that's a big thing to look at. You know, I'd rather binge and throw up and be in my own head than take care of myself and be the mom that I can be for you. I'd rather stay stuck in this chaos, which allows me to use, than get well on the inside so that I could get better all the way around and be that mom or that sister or that neighbor or that friend that doesn't have their entire day, you know, revolved around where am I going to go, where am I going to, and how am I going to get what I need, and in the meantime, yeah, I'm going to write you a check, but in the end, like the ways and means of getting what we want.
One of my aha moments, also related to my kids, is that by me abusing me, which really addiction abuses, you're abusing yourself and you're abusing everyone within your world.
Correct.
But also the lessons that I teach my kids, because I'm model. I'm their model of how they view the world as they're younger. And they start, as they get older, they become more self-determining. But at a younger age is when they really look at me as their role model.
Right, because
So
kids
I've
learn
been
what they
teaching
live.
them to abuse themselves, put other people first, to not listen to themselves.
Right.
And that was also one of my motivations to start dealing with the issue, because I knew I had to be healthy. I had to be a role model to them by being a role model to myself. And that's by putting myself first. And not in a selfish way, but in a way that goes in a caring, loving, considerate way, because those are the lessons that I'm trying to teach them. And if I'm bullying myself and I'm beating myself up, how am I teaching them the lesson of compassion and generosity and just kindness? So it's really
Yeah, that's really true, and it's so learning to treat ourselves like we would treat, like if I had a 13-year-old daughter. You know, what love and respect and kindness would I give to that person or anybody that I loved and respected? To look at ourselves that way too, and to understand that we can love and respect ourselves, and do that work so that in the end we don't have to use, so that we don't have to kill ourselves.
Does this bring anything up for you?
Yes.
On the spot.
On the spot.
Well, just hearing you say that makes me remember, which was not too long ago before I started working on recovery, that I didn't want to be here.
Right.
And so, yeah, it just makes me realize that I didn't think anything was it was possible to fix what was wrong, but it actually is, and it happened really fast, and I'm happy now.
Yeah, and so recovery is amazing. You know, to go from a place where, so the first time I went to a treatment center, when I went to a treatment center like 8 or 9 years, I guess like 9 years ago, was the last time that I had tried to kill myself. And so you go from that person that tries to kill yourself or wants to kill themselves to this person that's freaking happy, you know, that's goofy and happy, and we come here and we laugh and we're like, what are we gonna do? We don't know, you know, whatever. Like, nothing's really so big and so serious and so chaotic and so outside important, you know, like it gives us a time. Recovery allows us to be happy.
It also makes us do crazy things. Let's sit here on a Wednesday night after a long day of work at 9 o'clock to talk to cameras, okay, to actually talk to people about what we're doing, and we're going, why are we doing this? I mean, are we crazy enough to actually be doing this? But the thing is, I'm in such a happier place by having gone through this process, and after years of living, of beating myself up and being what I call down the rabbit hole, which really is those ups and downs, and really those lows are tremendous lows where it's just the darkest places to be able to come out and actually be in a place where there's hope and there's light and there's sunshine and there's joy is just something you want to share with others. So being of service is really one of the integral parts of a healthy recovery.
Yeah, it's like, you know, they talk about
So
drinking the Kool-Aid,
we
right?
are
You drink
really-
the Kool-Aid, you want everybody else to drink the Kool-Aid too.
So we really
Sugar-free Kool-Aid is what I meant, sugar-free.
calorie free.
Calorie-free, calorie-free.
Everything's got calories. You breathe, it's got a calorie. Okay, but
That's a lot.
that's.
That's not true.
But the thing is, you give us the opportunity to be able to be of service, and we really are truly grateful for that. So we do have a gratitude group. So it's on our Facebook. It is Honesty and Courage. Gratitude helps ground us. It helps us see the world as a bigger place. It makes us look at the little things and appreciate them, because it really is the little things at the end of the day that really matter and count. And it makes us, it just opens up our world. So really we invite and challenge everyone to, if you're not going to do it on our group on Honesty and Courage on Facebook, at least just do it on a piece of paper or
Just
amongst
do
your
it.
friends,
Be
or text your
grateful.
friends. Be grateful for something tonight. Just step out of yourself and be grateful for something tonight. I'm grateful it was raining and my tomatoes are growing.
I'm grateful that it was monsooning raining and I got here safely. I'm
And
happy.
we didn't need to fill the pool tonight, and not only that, I had a
Oh,
car
wow.
that kept me dry, and the windscreen wipers worked, which is awesome. So it was absolutely awesome. So we do meet up on on Sundays. It's a little bit of a different session. Sunday we let you talk.
But Sundays actually, so Sunday is our recovery meeting. So Wednesday night is usually Haiti and I chatting about something that we had a thought about, and Angelique's here, and we're laughing and kidding around. And Sunday is a lot more serious. It's an actual recovery meeting where we're learning spiritually to let go of some pain and let go of some tears, and learn to come together as a community and learn how to start reliving our lives, learning how to live that life, what that life looks like in recovery.
So we invite you to sign up and join us on Sunday. If you can't be here in person, we are in South Florida. There's loads of room for people. We really get a great turnout on a Sunday. So
Yeah,
we
we
usually
do.
have
Great
people in the room, which makes it very different. We have people live streaming us. We have people interacting on webinar through the camera. So you can actually see us. We have people in Israel. We have people in South Africa. We have people all around the world that actually tune in and join us, because recovery and addiction is not geographically designated. It's not
Correct.
restricted. It's all over. It
Correct.
affects everyone, no matter what culture, what background, how you grew up, where you're from.
Yeah, there's no
Addiction is
prejudice with
addiction.
addiction. You
Right,
know,
we're not
addiction
that
don't
special.
care what color you are, what size you are, how much money you have,
So
how
I'm
much.
not that special.
No, sorry, I know.
So
Alex.
we're gonna meet up again on Sunday. We really encourage you to send questions. Feedback is awesome. If there's more you'd like to hear or see, let us know,
Yeah, let us know.
because this really is a wealth of knowledge and experience.
Yeah.
And
You know, fortunately or unfortunately, we go through what we go through before we get to that point, or before we have that gift of desperation, which is what most of us have, before we decide that we can't live the life that we're living and we choose to live a life in recovery. And you know, we had talked about, was I talking with you about, I read that too the other day, where we talk about living our life with our addiction is so horrible, but not as horrible as we think living our life without it is. And so going through that transformation, taking that first step, and being scared, and seeing other people that were scared too and that are now excited to be in recovery.
And as much shame as we carry within us, and I know because I've been there and I've been
Useless.
embarrassed and I've been
Useless.
carrying shame for years. I carried 130 pounds of worth of shame and guilt. That once
And I carried like 130 million milligrams per set in shame and guilt. True that.
So the first steps are always the most uncomfortable. The thought of us, we are the worst judges of ourselves. So when we're sitting in our own heads judging ourselves on our actions, we think everyone else is seeing us through our eyes. And really, once you start participating and showing up, everything starts shifting, because you realize that you're not alone. Most of us have been where you are or where you've been, and we welcome you. And there's nothing you can tell us that's going to shock us or disturb us, or that we're going to judge you on, because we've been there. And really, it is so liberating and freeing to be able to be in a place where you are in a safe space, to be able to discuss this and let go the chains that really have held us in bondage for so long, and be able to talk about this crap. And most of it, honestly, at the end of the day, we carry it around a lot longer than what it actually happened for.
Right. Right, well, it's that we carry the feelings that are attached to whatever happened. Because once something happens, it's done. Beating yourself up about it's kind of silly. And what we do hold on to are those feelings that are attached to whatever it is that happened. And it's learning how to get rid of that. And it's knowing too, no matter what we say, you know, we come here and we goof and we say, wow, like we were really in trouble and, you know, we try to kill ourselves, but I did. I tried to kill myself, you know, and that wasn't funny. And so it's so scary to make that change. And so for anybody that's watching for the first time, just to understand that, that we know how scary that change is, even though it's a change for the better, how scary that change is, and that we're here to let you know that it's possible. And it's possible to come out on the other side actually happy.
Right, and healthy.
Yeah, and healthy. And
So-
silly.
And goofy, and
Yeah.
So the big thing is Sunday, 9 a.m., the best way to start the week. Come join us. We are so pleased you did join us today. And this is Haiti, and I'm going to say peace out. Have a beautiful night. Have a wonderful week what's left. And we will see you this long weekend, Memorial Day weekend.
Yep, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery, and I'm Felice. Peace out as well.
And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. Thanks for joining
Good
us.
night.
Good night.